Happy Hump Day, everyone. Welcome to our webinar this month. My name is Chad Erickson, and I am the Vice President of Marketing and Business Development at Advice Media, and I welcome you to our monthly webinar series. We're excited to have everyone today and excited to have our guest, Kelly Smith, with us as well. I'll introduce Kelly in just a moment. As we go through our webinar today, we invite any of you who might have questions for Kelly related to her presentation to go ahead and submit those on the control panel, which you'll see on your screen. As you add those questions, I'll moderate those and I'll present those to Kelly when she's done with her presentation. If you've got any other questions for me privately, you can also chat me directly during that time. So again, happy to take those and facilitate those questions for you. But again, look forward to this message today and look forward to hearing from Kelly. So a little background on Kelly. Kelly Smith is the founder and CEO of Projected Growth Consulting. PGC specializes in financial analysis, strategic marketing programs, as well as on-site events for physicians nationwide. PGC hosts over 350 events per year for their clients and have sold over 15 million this year for their clients' elective medical practices. With 20 years of experience in this industry, this is Kelly's second seven-figure venture. PGC helps over 500 offices a year with growth strategies and programs, and this team is comprised of 15 women, all with industry or ownership experience. Kelly's own med spa exceeded $1 million in sales in the first year, followed by her first client in this industry that grew from $750,000 a year to over $4 million in the 3 years she was the CFO. Since 2011, PGC has been helping owners identify and remedy the issues to create rapid growth. Kelly's on faculty for multiple trade shows and speaks nationally for many laser companies regarding marketing and business development best practices. Today, Kelly will reveal the top 10 mistakes that affect profit, help you identify and prioritize the ones affecting your business, and finally, arm you with tools to remedy and improve performance quickly. And on a personal note, I can tell you that Kelly is one of the most intelligent people I've been around. I had a chance to be on faculty with her, met her several years ago at the aesthetics show, and was so impressed with the content of her presentation and the message she had that I thought we've got to figure out how to work together and do things. And so it's really my privilege to welcome Kelly in today to share with us. So Kelly, the time is yours.
Thank you. Thanks for that nice introduction, Chad. Yes, I have really enjoyed working with you and Darren at our different speaking engagements as faculty at various trade shows, and the compliment is mutual. As you know, I love sending our clients to you for websites and other things that you guys offer because you're so organized and deliver such a quality product. So thanks for inviting me to share some tips today about the common mistakes we see out there with the businesses that we help on a regular basis. Really, my goal today is to let you guys be a fly on the wall and learn from the thousands of practices we've seen from the inside and share with you the top 10 things that I see affecting profit and success for the practices around the country. We do work with dermatologists, cosmetic surgeons, plastic surgeons, OB-GYNs that are moving into elective, a lot of non-core as well as core. And in doing that, we've just seen common threads again and again. And as a business owner myself, running my own med spa, I learned a lot of these things the hard way. So business school is one thing, and I find when you do it with your own money and look at your own profit and losses, suddenly things make a lot more sense, sometimes good, sometimes bad. So my goal today is to give you some takeaway tools for you to focus on those top areas that might be a concern with your business to hopefully create rapid growth for your profit and for your business. So let's get started. I will take questions at the end, and I'm happy to talk about any issues that you guys might have, whether they're in the presentation or not here. So let's get started. The question is always, why isn't our business where we want it to be? And typically that really falls into three main areas, and I'm going to go over those today. But when you look at your practice, as we go through these top 10 mistakes that we see or areas for opportunity, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 and just make a note of it to yourself. And those things you are scoring below 5, take a look, and that's where you want to start by putting most of your time and energy. You can't fix everything at once. So go through and just make a note on maybe your top 3 takeaway items that you'd like to work on in your business. On this road to being a business owner and running your medical practice, consistency, implementation, and clarity are really the keys to success. I'm going to give you some systems and tools today that guarantee results. We've worked with, like I've already mentioned, thousands of clients, and these systems are proven to create results when they are implemented. There's no magic here. There's just consistent, small changes made and implementing those with your staff to create the kind of results that you're looking for. So it's good if things show up as you go through here in the areas of finance, marketing, or operations, which are those 3 main areas of your business. Everything falls into the big 3. So whether it's financial planning or marketing or operations, meaning staffing, training, and selling, one of 3 areas is usually the primary area of focus when we start with our clients. The way that we start with clients is a little different than maybe some other consultants that you've worked with. I find it's very important to have a self-diagnostic done by the owner of the practice to show what's working and where the opportunities for growth are. And then we like to retake those diagnostic tests quarterly to show measurable results. We measure everything at PGC. And I think that the main miss for most people of feeling like they're making progress is forgetting to measure along the way. So I'm going to share with you in each of these areas that we talk about ways to track your progress. So small businesses typically experience these four areas of challenges. The lack of planning, meaning a clear business plan and marketing plan, as well as financial. That financial goal setting and measurement, really understanding what marketing is and how to measure its return on investment. And then lastly, as you get really advanced, once you've got all of these things going, you need to be looking at your profit, not just your sales, and looking at making sure you're not discounting and selling Groupon style, if you will, to where you're going to sell your way right out of business. These are those really key areas that we see throughout all kinds of practices, whether we're talking about plastic surgeons, med spas, or non-cores moving into the elective area. So when you look at your practice, you're going to want to scale yourself on a 1 to 10 for each of these top 10 areas. And that is going to be almost like your before and after picture. And if you'd like to get diagnostic tools from us, you can reach out after the webinar, and I'd be happy to send some of these tools for you guys to use, even though we're going to walk through the top 10 right here. So first, you need to assess where you're at. You need to diagnose or prioritize what you want to fix. You need to create your solution for implementation. And then this key area that we often forget to do, measure progress. And that is the key to keeping your staff motivated and on track, and yourself too, because these goals are really long and you need to have some small successes along the way. So the first one is probably not a big surprise to anyone on the call, and it's a business plan. But I want to say business plans can seem really overwhelming and daunting, and I want to talk about you can't build a house on sand or lack of foundation. So even though this isn't the fun part, you need to go back to the basics. So think about your business plan. The one key area that I would say rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 is, do you have a clear revenue plan? Do you have a monthly sales goal? Is that monthly sales goal broken down by service? So maybe surgical, laser, injectable, retail. Maybe it's broken down further than this. But I can tell you that making this one change of clarifying your goals and measuring them can exponentially grow your practice and get your team working together. So jot down, do you have clear revenue goals on a scale of 1 to 10? The next area I'm going to go through the top 10 of these, let you rate yourself, and then I'm going to focus on what I really feel the 3 most important areas are and give you some solutions for those. And I'll also give you tools for these other areas. The second area that I work on with a practice typically is creating an annual marketing plan. Do you have an annual marketing plan? More importantly, do you use it? And is your staff aware of that? So this is important so you can utilize vendors to help you with events. It's important so that you have monthly specials going to continue to sell and cross-sell and upsell to your clients, as well as your social media, which really is your lowest cost per lead and highest conversion. So on a scale of 1 to 10, do you have an annual marketing plan? If you have a quarterly marketing plan, give yourself a 5. If you have an annual marketing plan and you use it, give yourself a 10. Somewhere in the middle there, if you haven't even thought about creating an annual marketing plan because it's overwhelming, I'm going to give you a gift at the end of our session today that will help make this easy for you. This is time well spent. So 1 to 10, do you have an annual marketing plan? That brings us to something that typically I hear every practice says, I need more clients, but they aren't usually mining the gold that they are sitting on or the oil that they're standing on. So targeting your existing patient base is really important. From your emailing them that you've got new services available. They want to know about your promotions. Hopefully you're doing a contest of the month on social media. They want to be in the know. When they come into the office, they should know what your promotion is. When they're on email, when they're on your website, consistently communicating with your existing clients is one of the quickest, cheapest, easiest things that we overlook in the practice. So don't underestimate the value of your current client base and making sure that you are doing them the service of letting them know what you have to offer and what's going on in the practice. So on a scale of 1 to 10, are you emailing your clients once a week, once a month? Really weekly is what's recommended, not more than that. Are you using social media? What efforts are you making to make sure that you are reaching out to your existing client base? We all know that existing clients have the highest conversion. That's your largest opportunity. Next is your referrals. And those 2 areas are important to focus on. So are you doing what's necessary to maintain your current patient base and get the true value from them? Number 4, if you're already really good about tracking and financial goals, one of the areas that is a bit more advanced is really looking at your expenses. So the first place, like I said, is start with setting clear revenue goals. Next, let's look at any large expenditure areas. Those key metrics would be things like labor costs, marketing, supplies, direct cost of goods, and any expense that's over 1%. Revenue is one area to look at, but profit is truly the money that's left in the bank at the end of the month. So this is a tough one for small businesses. Everyone gets stuck on revenue and they forget about profit. We're going to talk a little bit about discounting and how to make sure you maintain your profit margin. But at the end of the day, what's going to be most important is looking at your expenses as they relate as a percent of income. So on a scale of 1 to 10, when you look at your profit and loss each month, are you looking at your key metrics? Are you measuring how you're doing? Are you hitting industry averages? Do you know what the industry averages are? And do you create quarterly plans to do better? Number 5, key profit indicators. One of the areas that is a quick and dirty measurement of how you're doing is, do you know how many leads it takes and how many leads convert to consults and what your closing ratio is to create the number of cases that you need to meet your goals? This is a more advanced way of really looking at revenue projections and return on investment for marketing efforts that you're doing for your practice. So when you can look at this from the top down or the bottom up, but if you know you need 4 surgical cases a week or 16 a month, then you know you probably need 32 consults, and above that you're going to probably need times 4 for the number of leads coming in. So when we look at these ratios, I'm going to get a little bit more into detail on how to look at this, because this is important. A lot of people think they need more leads, and they turn out to need training on the phone to convert the leads, or they need consultation training because they're not closing at a good ratio. But unless you know how many cases you're trying to get, you really don't have any idea what your key profit indicators are. You don't know how many leads you need. You don't know how many consults you need to get. And if you're not measuring your closing ratios and your conversion ratios, which, by the way, I'm going to give you some easy tools on how to do this. These are not complicated things to do, but they need to be done consistently. So on a scale of 1 to 10, do you really feel like you know the number of leads that you need a month to produce the number of cases? And are you measuring those things? If you know how many leads and you're measuring your conversions and you know how many cases, then you get an A+ and a 10 on this. Again, no one sees your scores. This is just for you. This is something so that you can make a note of, okay, well, which areas do I really want to focus on? And that way we can focus on sending you the tools you need to work on the areas that matter. Details matter in these systems, and we've worked with so many clients now over the years that it's become easier and easier for us to help people create an annual marketing plan in, say, 45 minutes or 2 meetings, but it's because we've done hundreds of annual marketing plans. So with the systems I'm going to give you, really we need to know that if you can take these small incremental changes one at a time and start implementing them, and then quarterly we want you to measure how you're doing so that you can create the successes you're looking for. Here's the problem that we see. We want our staff to get behind us and really work hard and do what needs to be done to be successful. But oftentimes we are not clear with them on what our sales goals are, what our key profit indicators are, and we're not training them. So if you're not willing to tell your staff where you're trying to go, the likelihood that you're going to end up there is very low. So today we're going to focus on how do we really train the staff and set them up for success. The sixth area that I see, if this isn't in place, this is a biggie. So we're all in the industry here of selling wants, not needs. And there's a decision tree that our patients go through to make a decision about whether they want to come to our practice or someone else's. And a clear consultation structure with good, solid, a structure that everyone understands, that you've trained your staff, you trained your front desk, you know how to explain what your consultation is on the phone, is a key part of a successful practice. So on a scale of 1 to 10, do you guys allow at least 45 minutes to an hour for your consultation? Do you have it outlined and your whole staff understands what the consultation is supposed to be like? And are you tracking your conversion ratios, your closing ratios? So rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Yes, we allow enough time. Our whole staff is trained. We have a process that we follow, and we are tracking our performance. Number 7, clarity and accountability. We want to hold our staff accountable, but without clear goals and position descriptions and even incentives, we are probably not getting the results you're looking for. This can take some time and energy to put in the work required, but it pays out in spades. A clear written job description for each individual position and some team performance bonuses can change a practice in dramatic ways. I had a client, Dr. Sukar, out in Florida, or at Texas, Clear Lake, Texas, and he took his practice up $1 million and went from a 5-day work week to a 4-day work week by clarifying goals for the staff, measuring weekly their revenue performance, and putting some compensation bonus kickers into place. And they grew by 20, they grew another $1 million. They went from $3 to $4 million in practice. This is something that can make a huge difference. Clarifying who is supposed to do what and how they can get rewarded for that performance is definitely a critical piece to the puzzle here. So do you have clear written job descriptions, and do you incentivize your staff as a team or individually to exceed those goals And are you rewarding them for their results? So on a scale of 1 to 10, you have written job descriptions. Maybe you have some commission or bonus structures in place. You can rate yourself on that scale. Over discounting in general instead of cross promotions, running things like too many specials at a time are a common mistake. This Groupon war that so many practices are very nervous about, it's easy to win the Groupon war. If you're creating cross promotions and you're using an area of your practice that's already really busy to introduce people to something that's a new added service that you've got, that's really your best strategy to grow different areas. It's also the best strategy to upsell and cross-sell into different ancillary services for your practice. So these are just some examples, but the question is here is, are you discounting or are you cross-promoting or value added? When you get this service, enjoy this service complimentary. This is one of the most strategic marketing plan items I could explain to you. And when this is done correctly, the need for discounting goes away, and we'll talk about how and when to give a discount. But value-added cross promotions is the way that the American woman is used to buying anyway. It resonates with us. We like these kind of specials, and it's a wonderful way to introduce someone into trying something that they might not have tried otherwise. And the cost to you is very low, especially when you look at what it costs to run maybe the laser or the 50% cost of goods that you have on your injectables. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you doing in this area? Are you discounting? Then you're below a 5. Are you doing cross promotions? Great, you're above a 5. If you're running more than 1 promotion or 2 promotions a month, that's too many and you're not going to get the results that you're looking for typically. Number 9, this one I can tell you from experience with my own med spa that I owned and running the spa in Washington and Idaho. Sales events quarterly, where you have a grand prize, you do doctor exams and you collect deposits that night, and that's the only time you discount, are a pivotal way to grow your business. Our average on-site events sell over 60,000, and that's in a 3-hour period. Definitely books at least 10 to 15 new cases at every single event when they're done correctly. We've had dozens of 6-figure events. We actually just broke a $200,000 event 2 weeks ago in Florida for a body type event. So stopping discounting and only doing a discount quarterly or monthly at an event and having your promotions do your cross promotions, not discounting, is the way to maintain your profit margin. You need to stop discounting, and you'll be surprised how well this will help your bottom line, and your clients will really respond to your specials if you can keep them once a month and run them for a whole month and have your quarterly events. So one quarterly event is about body contouring or body surgeries. One is a face anti-aging event. One can be feminine rejuvenation, as an example. One can be a VIP special, 1 year only, once a year only, they get maybe a 25% discount, but they have to be invited and they have to earn their way in by referring 3 clients and having a certain amount of expenses that they've done at the spa. This part of the marketing program, the annual marketing plan, is a big part of the financial success that we see. And open houses are very different than sales events. So on a scale of 1 to 10, are you doing at least 2 sales events a year? Or are you trying to maintain your discounting just at events? Even a 7 or 10 if you're doing an event versus an open house. Open houses typically don't collect a lot of revenue, and when you show everything you're doing to your clients, it's hard for them to select what they want to choose. It's almost too confusing. They've got too many choices. So the key with a sales event, narrow your focus, don't have it available all the time, and make sure that people know that they have to wait for that event and that it's event only pricing at that event. This is an excellent strategy in order to maintain your bottom line and to stop discounting. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you doing in sales events? I know you guys are probably getting listening fatigue here. So We are on number 10. I'm going to go into detail on how to solve the top 3 of these after this. Marketing or ROI. This is something that it's rare when I run into a client who is tracking accurately what their return on investment is for marketing. So this is looking at how much are you spending a year on your website? What are you spending on pay-per-click? What are you paying on social media? Maybe it's the labor as well as the paid advertisements you're doing. Do you use referral sites like RealSelf or other paid referral sites? Are you doing a patient referral reward system, and what does that cost? Are you running a VIP system? You can look at what you're spending in each one of these areas and get a cost per lead based on what's coming in the door. The rule of thumb is you should be getting a 4x on any marketing that you're spending. So for every $10,000, you need to be creating $40,000 in revenue. And if you're doing various kinds of marketing, make sure that you have a way for tracking where the leads are coming from. With any new client coming in, you should have where did you hear about us? And if it's an online lead coming in through Facebook, you'll have a tracking system in place there. If it's coming through a pay-per-click kind of web.com or another pay-per-click, maybe it's your AdWords, you can measure it there. Make sure as you're setting up these different systems moving forward that you have a way to track how many leads are coming from the different areas, because marketing is a changing animal. None of us do the yellow pages anymore. There's less and less TV because people forward through the commercials. Even radio, which does work really well if you're consistent, a lot of people are on XM and they're not listening even to commercials there. So when we're moving more into social media and videos and things like that, you can track those results, and it's important because this landscape is changing all the time. So knowing your return on investment for your marketing is really important. Your marketing can be anywhere from 5 to 20% as a startup of your costs. It's a substantial part of your financial budget. So how are you doing on a scale of 1 to 10 by measuring your ROI for your marketing? And that's the last of the quizzes. So now you've got things written down and you've got an idea of where you're high and where you're low. And I am going to give you some tips for success in the top key areas and try to give you some tools to help you solve any of these challenges that you might have. So the first one, financial goals. Clarifying how much money you need the facility to bring in on a monthly basis is critical. You want to look at that by how you're currently doing, or if you're a startup, we'll get into more detail of how to project these things. But assuming you have an ongoing business, you need to go ahead and divide things out so that you know where your revenue is coming from. And if you're trying to create an increase in revenue, you need to think about maybe a 10 to 20% growth, unless you're adding a new provider or a new service, or you're doing a pretty large effort towards paid advertising of some sort to create more leads. So when you look at this, you want to be realistic, set those goals. Keep seasonality in mind. We all know which months are going to be slow, and unfortunately, there's no real way to buy yourself out of seasonality. And then take a look at those key expenditures. You know that there's an injectable and a retail cost of goods. You know that you need to be spending, typically 5% of income on marketing in order to maintain your market share, and startups are up to 20%. So a lot of companies are spending between that 5 and 10% to create consistent ongoing growth, but you only do that if you're measuring your return on investment. So this is a simple tool to create your goals. If you have your goals, that is great, but the true action that creates a performance change is for you to measure how you're doing weekly instead of waiting to the end of the month when basically the milk's already spilt and there's nothing you can do about it. So this is one of those practice changing paradoxes. That is, some offices are really worried to share a financial goal with their team because they're worried that if everyone knows how much money is coming in, they'll feel like they're not being paid enough. That really is something that is not typically a problem, especially if you explain to your staff and educate them a little bit about, businesses average bottom line is maybe 15 to 20% profit. And so for every dollar that comes in, 15 to 20 cents is left at the bottom line. So yes, you need these numbers to grow. You need to hit these goals in order to create job security. And most importantly, if you create clear goals, what we suggest is that you create a bonus for performance over goal. So if you start the month and you've got your goal, I just put a low number in here, 50,000, and you're tracking how you do each Monday and you look at it with the team. Most of the time we suggest a 1% bonus per staff member for anything above goal. And by implementing that, you'll see the team will start pulling together and asking each other, oh, did you follow up with so-and-so on that appointment? Oh, can you call Susie, because I think she was talking about wanting to get this service done. Suddenly your team starts motivating each other when there's a group bonus. So if you're 10,000 over, each person makes an extra $100. If you're 20,000 over, each person makes an extra $200. So you can see that when they start motivating each other to come in over goal, it grows the practice and it really takes some of the management stress off of you, motivating your team. And they really do pull together if they can tell where they're at. So if you've never tried creating a clear goal, measuring it weekly and letting the team pull together to do their follow-up, their cross-selling, their upselling, and their closing, this can be a real game changer. If you would like to get a revenue predictor, you can email us at the end of, I can email this out to you if you request it. This is very simple and straightforward to use, but again, very powerful, and it's created amazing results for hundreds of our clients. Marketing plan. The way you build a marketing plan does not have to take a lot of time or be nearly as intense as what we make it to be. You want to create a cross promotion each month, and you want to keep in mind seasonality and what you're trying to sell, maybe whether a vendor can donate something to you. And keep in mind, even if you get 3 or 5 people responding to this, that's a good response. What you're trying to do is create top of the mind awareness about what you offer and incentivize them to ask. And it's a soft way of selling other things that people might not be interested in. The biggest thing you can do is your contest of the month on your social media. Hands down, the best way to grow social media on Facebook and Instagram is to run a contest. And I suggest that you have it be for one of 2 of the things that are part of your promotion. So to keep things really simple, if you decide, okay, I'm going to do for January a free hydrofacial with any laser series, that tells me that in my monthly contest, I can either give away a laser series or a hydrofacial. I can pick which one I want to do. And everybody that enters that contest is essentially a lead then for people who want to try that service. That is a more advanced technique that I can get into more detail, but utilizing these contests as a lead source and a way to get new clients in. And these are what people share with their friends. They share these contests with their friends, and that's how you expand your reach. The other benefit by picking this cross promotion is I automatically know what I need to do a video blog and a written blog on for that month. I want to do a written blog on hydrofacial and turn that into a video blog. And I want to do the same thing with whatever that laser series is so that I can teach the benefits and how these services work. And that way, boom, I've got content. I've got 2 blogs, I've got 2 video blogs, I've got a contest, and I've got a promotion. And then that last critical piece is, what do I want to do for sales event? And the sales events are the only time I'm going to discount. When am I going to do them? And let the staff plan ahead. Are they an evening event? Are they an all-day event? When are we going to do those? What makes sense? And really set goals, because this is usually an extra couple $100,000 revenue easily for any other practices that we work with. This proven marketing strategy, then, when you boil it down, is you are doing a monthly promotion and a monthly contest. You're posting those things weekly and emailing them weekly to your clients, and you're creating that quarterly event. That's how simple and straightforward your marketing plan can be. And when you select the topics, it really helps you. I mentioned to you that contests are the #1 way to grow your social media. And Dr. Cappuccino was at a preceptorship that I was teaching for Neograft, and he went home and tried this for the first time. And he got 16,000 views. He only had less than 1,000 followers. He had 897 followers. And his all-time high was 8 comments and 3 shares before he tried this first contest. And yes, he did a video, which I would recommend. Anytime you can do a video in your social media, you're going to expand your reach exponentially. But here he got 315 shares, which is the equivalent of spending, $100 cost per lead if you were talking about running a pay-per-click campaign. And he got 16,000 views on this. So imagine the 20 to 30 leads a month that he got from just this contest of the month, or essentially the equivalent of spending $30,000 in a pay-per-click campaign. So don't underestimate doing a monthly contest as a critical piece of your marketing plan. If you want a free ebook of how to do this, you can text 314-665-1767, and we'll send you our marketing method book. So it'll help you create that annual marketing plan, show you step-by-step how to create your social media, as well as your promotional checklist. So that tool is here to help you solve the second most common problem besides financial goal setting. So when you're putting all this together and thinking about, how to be profitable, I really can't underestimate the importance of doing events. And I'm showing you the results from our events so that you can get an idea of the sort of sales that you can create. We've already done $15 million worth of volume for our clients this year. And you really can make a huge difference for your practice if you can stop discounting. This is really a profit killer, the discounting, the Groupon, running too many promotions. Think about moving away from that and setting clear goals to do quarterly events or even monthly events where it's the consultation round and the opportunity for people to make a deposit if they'd like. And if you want more information on that, we have an on-site course. We have an ebook on it. We do these in person. If you need help on that, let us know. But I would definitely tell you, if you're doing open houses and you're getting attendance, try to switch to a clear goal. You really need to know, what are we trying to focus on? Narrow your focus. Sell everything you do. Get it down to what you really need to focus on to get quality people attending your events and to get at least a 50% closing ratio or better. It's very doable. We do it hundreds of times. Well, we do it about 45 to 50 times a month across the country in every single demographic available. So I would encourage you that my top 3 places to start would be a clear financial plan and measuring weekly, rewarding your staff. Secondly, an annual marketing plan and using it, implementing it. And third, trying to move to a quarterly event as your only discount. And I don't have enough time to do all 10, but those 3 things done, I have seen 5x many of the practices that we work with. If you got less than a 30% growth in 90 days implementing these things, I would be very surprised. So I hope these things help. I'm happy to send you some tools so that it's not all talk, but you have some implementation. And I'm really excited to answer any questions if you guys are ready. Thank you.
Perfect. Kelly, thank you very much for that. And you're right, I was listening, I'm like, every one of these 10 could be 2 hours each, to really go in depth on that. And so thank you for sharing so much great information with us, but also giving some how-tos, today, some little takeaways of at least do this piece, start here, which is so critical for everybody. But I'm with you. They need that annual plan. They need to visit it often. They need to measure those KPIs. So I could not agree more with everything that you've shared today. But Understanding that financial part is a big deal. And I've got some questions that are coming in, so let me throw a few of these out to you. So one of them is, what should my goal be for a healthy profit margin?
Well, that depends on, how seasoned the business is and what kind of business we're talking about. But typically, med spas and plastic surgeons are different. But usually people are trying to plan for a 30% profit margin, but it's usually somewhere between 15 and 30% when you really calculate it at the end of the month on your profit loss once you really tie it. But most people are shooting for over a 30% goal. And it varies a little bit depending on how long the practice has been in existence, what type of practice it is, and what size they are. So a company under 500,000 or under $1 million is got different margins than one in that 1 to 3 million, and then again it changes that 3 million and up. So there's not a straight answer to that, but at least try to target 30%, and hopefully you'll hit 20.
I think that's good advice. What you mentioned holding quarterly events and only discounting those. Is there are there certain months that are better than others? Time of day, what works best on those?
Yeah, I mean, this is what we've built the whole company on, is these on-site sales events, because it creates that revenue and launches new services, or it jumpstarts or turnarounds, for different practices. There are times of the year that are better than others. So if you're going to do a body event, for example, beginning of the year can be really strong because there's New Year's resolutions, weight loss, all of that. Spring, of course, getting ready for summer is excellent. If you have non-invasive body contouring and things that can be done with sun exposure, you can even do that during the summer. Summer is the hardest because people are on vacation, they're not available for downtime and recovery, but you can still do an event and sell it. They just may not do it until the fall. But even in the summer, we are finding a lot of success with feminine health. That is something that doesn't have downtime, and sun exposure doesn't matter, like lasers. And right before the holidays, again, body services are big. Surprisingly, surgical events are really big at the end of the year, that November, December, and the January, February. So you can look at what times of year. There's 2 different ways to plan your events. And it depends on how successful the practice is already. If you're just really trying to build it and get things going, or you want to grow, you need to do these events during the peak time that people want to buy them. If you're already really high revenue and you are just trying to put frosting on the cake, you can try to do these events during times that people don't usually buy that service, and really try to fill your schedule up at a time where maybe they wouldn't be thinking about that particular body contouring in the middle of summer with compression garments, So it kind of depends on where you're at. But traditionally, anti-aging and 10 years younger events at the beginning of the year, body in the spring, any kind of VIP or invitation only. Try to do it during the summer when you're slow, Botox parties and those kinds of things, because it's harder to fill a summer event. People aren't around, and there needs to be more in it for them typically to come to those events. So usually we try to say August, September for your VIP event, because most practices are really needing money then, because they've been through the summer, and we think the minute summer's over that revenue is going to pick up, but it doesn't usually pick up until mid-October. Whenever moms are busy in transition with kids coming out of school, or we're taking them on vacation, or we're trying to get them back in school, moms don't have time to come in, and we all know that our target demographic, a lot of them are mothers. So you got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, great insight. Another question we have from one of our listeners today is, what services are profit killers? Really kind of, she wants to know, what should we avoid?
Well, if they're a med spa, I mean, it's different than plastics and all that. If you're a med spa, one of your most expensive service rooms is your facial room, and one of your highest profitability is your massage. And if you're talking about more lasers, then you're looking at disposable costs, and your labor costs, and you have to look at those numbers. Obviously, a laser that doesn't have disposables has better margins than one that does, but if you have disposable costs, it's more about how you price it and how you package things to make sure that you're not losing your margin. And it's not so much that there's services to avoid, there's pricing structures and discounting things to avoid, I would say, because you can definitely, if you're trying to promote something that has a high cost to you because of its disposables, and you do the cross promotion to be something like a package of 6 dermabrasions or dermablading, and usually that's a $50 value and it costs you $20, your labor, whatever your hourly labor is. One way to help expensive procedures that have a high cost to you is to do their cross promotion with something that has a nice value but doesn't cost you much. It could even be, a laser service with it that you're only paying hourly without a disposable, even though it might be worth $3,000 when you sell it. So it's the way you pair things together. That's why that cross promotion value added strategy is so important to the profitability of a company.
I think that's one of the most important things you shared today as well, because I agree 100%. It's not about what's a bad product. These products are good, right, and they work. The mistake I've seen, similar to what you mentioned, is an office who's not ready for certain technologies. I've seen it just kill them, where they invest in the laser or cool sculpting or something similar to that, and their space is so limited, and they haven't fully transitioned from maybe a medical background to an aesthetic, fee for service, and they don't have the space for it, and they're not willing to dedicate that, and they don't have the people to run it, and they don't know how to market it. And it's not so much that the product's the issue as much as they aren't prepared and set up to make it successful within the office, and then knowing how do we cross sell with that. So
right. No, I
agree.
That's you're dead on. And the first thing when we think, oh, we're not making enough money, what laser, what service do we need to bring in, or we need a new website, right? I mean, that's where the first thoughts go. Instead of, and we want them to do all those things, sure, but that's usually not the problem. Usually it is, are we marketing what we even have well, and are we telling our current patients what we have? It's shiny and easy to go write a check to buy a new laser or a new website. That is not going to necessarily solve the problem if you're not able to make the technologies that you have busy and successful, because it's really a very different problem, and it's harder to solve, and it's not as easy as writing a check. It's consistently running promotions that people are interested in. It's doing a good job on converting a call to a consult and closing it. It's the details, of promoting things correctly, consultations that are educational, getting your staff trained to be able to be good consultants. It all starts there. You can have the best technology in the world, and if you can't answer questions and do a good consultation, it doesn't matter. So if you have technology that you've invested in that does work, and you're confident with the results, and if you're not confident with the results, then you need to get more training, you need to treat more staff, or you need to sell that equipment. But first treat your staff, make sure everyone knows it works, and you need to speak from a confident, we don't want to sell things that we don't know if it works. So if that's the problem, then more training and getting your staff buy-in. Next is training your staff ongoingly on how to benefit sell and how to educationally do consultations. The need for ongoing staff training is always there, and it's something that's overlooked a lot. So it might just be a training issue.
Yeah, training is such a big deal, and we see it in our own organization as well. Just constantly training, so very important. Last question we have, and I think I can probably answer this one, is how do we get the webinar? So the webinar is being recorded, and it will be available on our website as well as on YouTube by tomorrow, end of day. So you'll be able to see that. It will actually be sent out to you automatically for participating. You'll receive an email tomorrow with it as well. And then Kelly, You mentioned you had a few things for them as well. So if you want to tell them, tell our audience today how they can reach you, both for that ebook again with that text number, as well as emails in case they're looking for an assessment or to help with the event, because that is your specialty, is putting together these events. So how can they reach you?
Right. If you just email info@projectedgrowthconsulting.com and request what you'd like, or if you text the number that I showed you for the ebook, but if you don't text that, we can send it to you as well. So I can look up that number really quick and tell you what it is. But info@Projected Growth Consulting is the best way to reach out, and I'm happy to send you that revenue calculator or the ebook. And I think those are both really, really useful tools to help get these basic things in place. And as far as the text number, it is, if you text the word free AMP with no spaces, FREE AMP, which stands for Annual Marketing Plan, you text that to 314-665-1767. 314-665-1767, the word free AMP, and we'll send that your way.
Awesome. Kelly, thank you so much for everything you've shared with us today. Really appreciate you taking time to be here with us and to help our audience. Appreciate our audience for being here as well, and for your questions and participation. Just letting you know that as we're our next month webinar is scheduled for September 26th. It will be presented by Bob Rulo, who runs a meeting called the Aesthetic Blueprint. He'll be speaking on how to unleash your potential for geometric growth. And it's a great topic. I've heard him give this presentation. It's different than exponential growth. He'll talk about the differences between that, what that means, and what that looks like for your practice. So anyway, again, that's September 26th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So again, Kelly, thank you. Thanks, everyone. And we wish you the best this Labor Day weekend. Have fun with your friends and family. Talk to everybody later. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.